Hey, Travels with Dottie here, and I am in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. I'm on my way home from New York City, and yes, I've been promising footage and exciting stuff from New York, and that footage is still sitting on my computer. Um, I got to tell you, it's been a whirlwind. Um, if you're just if you're new here. Rob Travels with Dottie, and I'm a full-time retired nomad, and I travel around New Mexico and Arizona in my 21-foot trailer with my dog Dottie and my cat George, and I live a quiet, simple, laid-back lifestyle. And there was a big interruption to that this week when I got on a plane at 6 a.m. on Thursday to fly from Roswell, New Mexico, all the way to New York City. And what was I doing in New York City? Well, let me tell you what I was doing. I was meeting my brothers and sisters and my niece, because my niece is represented by one of the first or second oldest art galleries in the whole country. And she was given a show in New York. And that's, for an artist, my friends, that's a really big deal. And we were there to support her and to celebrate with her. And so that's what I did. I flew to New York, got there about 4:30, 5 o'clock on Thursday, and an hour later we were in the gallery, and a couple hours after that we were in a fancy Italian restaurant, which the owners of the gallery treated Ptolemy and the entire family to a dinner. I shudder to think how much that cost them. It was to me, it seemed like a very high-end Italian restaurant. Um, Multiple course meal. It was delicious, of course. And then today's Saturday, right? Friday, got up, we all went to breakfast together, and then I decided I would start, I'd already shot a lot of videos, starting with my arrival at Roswell Airport and the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, and LaGuardia, and the buses and the trains, and meeting up with my brothers in the hotel room, and the breakfast, and the gallery the night before. It was enormous. So after I went to breakfast with my brother and sister, I went to a coffee shop to get the laptop out and start working on things. And the other plan was, I knew we had a family dinner in an apartment in Tribeca, which is a part of Manhattan that's right where the World Trade Center is. And so my plan was, and I was really excited about this, was I was going to edit for a couple hours. Then I was going to jump on one of these. Citibank has these sponsors these e-bikes all over the city. They're in racks, and you basically swipe your credit card, and you can use an e-bike. And I was going to drive an e-bike from the hotel all the way down to the World Trade Center. So the one thing I really wanted to do, I've done it before, but I wanted to do it again, is to get some photographs and some footage of the memorial pools where the footprint of the two towers were. So that was the plan. So I edited for a while, and I go back to the hotel room, and I said, well, I got time to do a little bit more editing, and I open the laptop, and I guess for the first time, I looked at the time. It was 3 o'clock. I thought it was like 1 o'clock. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, how can I do this? This is crazy. So I managed to take care of a couple of things, and I got out the door at about 3:30, and I had to run, the first rack of bikes, none were available. I got a bike, and trust me, this is all on film. And I got on an e-bike and went through the streets of Manhattan, Fifth Avenue. Just people and cars. It was rush hour. There were people and cars and bikes and scooters, and it was amazing. It was it was about 45 minutes, I think. It's the most exciting 45 minutes I've had in years. It was great. So I made it down there, And I got what I needed, and I went and we all met. It was like, I don't know, a 10-minute walk from there to get to the apartment that we're all meeting at. My brother-in-law, his family, they have an apartment there. An apartment's an understatement. In a city where, premier neighborhoods like Tribeca, a little studio, or let's just say, for argument's sake, a nice one-bedroom apartment. We're talking $5,000 a month. You could have fit that bedroom apartment in their kitchen. That's a little exaggeration, but they have this enormous, beautiful place. Oh, it was gorgeous. So we did that. My sister Margaret and I finally bailed at about 9 o'clock and took a cab back to the hotel. And I slept and woke up, and it was, what happened? What happened to the light? Come on, there we go. I lost the light exposure. Because I got the airport, the runways and stuff are out behind me. The light, you know what I'm saying? You can tell how tired I am. Good Lord. Where was I? Oh, so I got up and I wanted to publish, a positive news story, which I have a personal commitment to do every day. So I did that, and I posted the first long form video from the trip, the actual gallery thing. And I had to get that approved because they don't allow filming in these events, and they made an exception for me. So I had to, that's what took so long doing the editing, is I was actually working on that to make sure everything, presented not just my niece in a positive light, but also the gallery. So that quickly got approved. I got that out. And before I knew it was time to, I had a 20-minute walk to meet a shuttle to take me to the airport. And that was it. It was done that fast. And I have some thoughts. Let me just say this. I enjoyed this trip immensely. Not only because I got to be with my brothers and sisters and my niece and some other friends of the family, but I love New York City, the excitement of it, the drama of it, the adrenaline pumping rush that I got from riding that. You'll see the footage on it, me riding that e-bike through all that traffic and going to the World Trade Center and just seeing all these things and the energy and the sounds and the sights of New York City and the gallery and the fancy dinner. And I love it, but there's also, it's stressful. Yeah. It's stressful. I have the feeling by the time I get home tonight, I anticipate pulling into my driveway about midnight. So right now it's 6:21 Dallas time, and the flight board's at 9:05. So I'm stuck here for a little under 3 hours before I get on the plane. And it's only about an hour and 10-minute flight. But then I have about an hour, close to it, I think 50 minutes or something drive from the Roswell airport. I've forgotten exactly what it is. It's not far, but you add it all together, midnight, I'll be pulling in the driveway and seeing my little Dottie dog, who my good friend Deborah Dickinson and Frugal RV Gal were taking care of Dottie for me. I'm real grateful. So they're going to leave Dottie in the casita, so I'll be able to walk in the casita. Dottie will be there. And I really miss my dog, but I got to tell you, it doesn't really looked like she missed her dad too much, because I got all these videos and photos from Deborah. And of course, he was staying with Deborah and her dog, Finn, and then got to spend a ton of time with Frugal's dog, Sammy. Dottie was having the time of her life, kind of like I was. It was Dottie's New York City trip to leave home and hang out with Deborah and Frugal RV Gal. But I think what I wanted to talk about, this juxtaposition, and I don't know why it keeps keeps losing the, you tap on the screen to say, here's what you do the exposure on, and it does great, and then it leaves. I don't know. I don't understand why. Maybe there's a follow me thing. Maybe if I do that, like if I move, if the gimbal follows me, maybe the exposure will follow me too. I'll try not to move around too much to be distracted. This whole thing with pleasure and excitement coexisting in parallel with stressful situations is not a new thing to me. You may know I was a paramedic for a while, a firefighter, way back when I was really young. I was a police officer for a little while. So I kind of have that personality where I crave that adrenaline. Hang on. Pardon me. And this trip was like that. I think it's really okay for me in small doses like this. It wasn't really okay in longer doses. And you're thinking I'm going to talk about being a firefighter, a paramedic, or a cop. No, I'm going to talk about the job I retired from as a therapist. In Fairfax, Virginia, I was doing emergency mental health services. And that involved a couple of days a week in an emergency clinic where people in severe crisis were being brought in by family members and by the police and by the fire department. And mostly what we did is we did evaluations to figure out whether this person needed to be maybe involuntarily hospitalized because they're a danger to themselves or others. So the way that worked is you did your evaluation. You try to get them, if you thought they really needed to be in the hospital, you try to get them to voluntarily go. And if they said no, they were usually with the police, they were under like what they called an emergency custody order. So they weren't free to leave. The emergency custody order for police had a life of 8 hours. And that was the law designs 8 hours. So that gives them time to bring them without their choice to someone like us to do we were state licensed to do these evaluations so we can make the final decision on whether they really needed to go to the hospital. But yet, we're not the final decision, we're the recommendation. Because in the state of Virginia, a therapist can't decide on his own, or a doctor or anything can't decide on their own to do this commitment. What you do is you do the evaluation, and if the person doesn't volunteer, and you want them committed, you have to put together your presentation and call a magistrate 24 hours a day. They answer the phone and say, hey, this is Rob down from the Merrifield Clinic, and I have a proposal for a temporary detention order, which is good for a couple of days, excluding holidays and weekends. And they would listen to my story and decide, okay, I'll issue an order. And they would issue the order and actually fax the order to us. And later it was more email, but it was the document, and we'd hand that. We'd be able to use that with the police officer so they could continue their custody beyond the emergency custody order, and we can get them transported to a hospital, hopefully a local one, but sometimes we had to go statewide, and I'm really going into a lot of detail here. That was one part of the job. The other part of the job was in the field. We would respond with a lot with police and sometimes independently to evaluate people that we get reports, either us directly or through the police or through, just the 911 line, that someone's having a mental health crisis out in the community. And we would go out there was usually two of us working together. Not always, but usually two of us working together. And we'd go and do that kind of evaluation, on a sidewalk if necessary. It was really rewarding, exciting work, as you can imagine. But, you're dealing with people often in the worst day of their life. It's important work, and it's fascinating, and I love doing it. But there is, just like riding that e-bike down Fifth Avenue, there is an underlying stress level that was always there. And what I realized was that it's subtle. It's subtle. You're so engaged and happy with what you're doing, you don't think this could possibly be a bad idea. I love my job. How could that be a bad idea? But it wasn't until I retired, and the reason I retired was for the love of this nomad life and doing the research, and I'm like, I'm going to love that even more than this emergency work I was doing. So I wasn't getting out of it because I was feeling stressed. It was after I got out of it and I got into this retirement life, the sort of psychic change in me and sort of the release of that tension was very noticeable to me, very noticeable. And I don't have that tension anymore. Family members would say, boy, you've really just done amazing things with your life, Rob, in the past couple of years. We're so proud of what you've done and, your YouTube channel and everything. But it in your nomad life, it's not really that. I think those are great choices and I love doing them. But the thing that they're really responding to is the release of that tension and stress that really, it changed me in a pretty fundamental way, in a good way. Do I still get upset about things every once in a while? And, my friend Deborah will say, he's a good man to have in an emergency, but if he loses his iPhone, he's going to freak out. It's right here. It's true. So I got my little quirks. But overall, my stress level is very, very low. And what it has led to in me, and I don't mean to say the only thing that's led to this is the release of those stressful environments, but it's also the nomad life and retirement for me and for many, many others fosters that feeling of peace. And to me, peace sort of evolved into a state of joyfulness that is sustained in a way that I wouldn't have guessed was possible. I wouldn't have guessed it was possible. And so that's what I wanted to kind of get out and talk about. I think I'll try to edit this here and get it out for tomorrow morning for tomorrow's video, and then I'll pick up with the New York stuff. I'll do some editing tomorrow afternoon, but I'm checking for a message that I'm expecting. That's what's really been on my mind all day as I've been on these flights and everything, and how my old job and my feelings in New York all wrap in together with the thing that I'm so passionate about is the lifestyle that I've found through being a nomad, retiring early, and a lifestyle that is peaceful and frugal as all get out. I mean, frugal. I don't worry about money at all. At all. I don't worry about business things at all. No, that's interesting. Yesterday I said I did a few hours of editing. Well, I found a coffee shop nearby that says it's got free Wi-Fi, and it's good for people working on laptops. So I went, and by the way, the Wi-Fi was terrible. I ended up using the hotspot on my phone for it. But as I'm there doing my editing, I couldn't help overhearing other people talking. And certainly, for most of the time, I was by far the oldest person in that coffee shop. It was a popular Manhattan coffee shop with young professionals in there. And, I overheard a bunch of conversations that were very business conversations, people having one-on-one business meetings in the coffee shop. And sort of and I remembered from when I was young, the intensity of how seriously in business that you take everything that's going on. And I was hearing that sort of serious, enthusiastic tone about management issues and marketing and all the things that you talk about when you're in business. And, you know, I felt so free from that. There was a time where I liked that stuff. There's nothing wrong with liking that stuff, but sort of being free from those concerns in life is really an unexpected bonus of retiring early and enjoying a lifestyle that isn't attached to sort of like, formulating goals and objectives, either professionally or personally, and often both, and taking steps to achieve those things is, it can be fun, it can be rewarding, but to be on the other side of that and be retired and not be concerned with that it's pretty neat stuff. And the reason I am such a strong proponent of this sort of nomadic existence, in particular with RVs, is because one of the keys to that freedom is, I think, at least for me, I needed to be financially free and free of worry of financial concerns. And this lifestyle has given that to me in spades. I have zero worries about anything financial. And it really opens up a lot of new possibilities for different things I can care about. Like, if you've been with me for a while, when I was in Eagle Nest for the summer, how I became so intertwined in that small mountain community, and how much joy I got out of intertwining with the people in that community was just amazing. And it's still happening. I'm still, it's, I'm not ready to announce this, but there's going to be a little bit of a change there for the better next summer, that I'm pretty excited about. And it's a direct result of my direct involvement in that community, and the appreciation people in the town are demonstrating for that. And they're offering me some pretty special stuff for next summer. But stay tuned for that. And I just want to thank everybody that watches the channel. It blows my mind and how many people watch these videos and are interested in what I have to say. Because it's not exciting, or I don't have any new ideas. I think what I think has been happening to me is I've been discovering people's old ideas that I hadn't been listening when I was younger, and now that I'm 65, I'm starting to hear and understand better, and I've got a much better life for it. So anyway, I'll see you on tomorrow's video. Take care.